6 to 8 p.m. CST, live on Facebook and YouTube. Join us as we discuss pertinent issues that relate to you and I with your host, Alinko.
Welcome, everyone. This is the Progressive Mind Show. We are very excited to be coming your way this beautiful day. It is August 25th, 2021. We miss you guys. It's been a few days of, we had some one or two replays, but the show has always been here. We've always been thinking and working for the community, even when we are not live. And so we want to appreciate you all for the support and for being there for the Progressive Minds and for keeping our community safe by your community work and by your prayers. We are very glad to be coming your way again. This evening, we're going to be talking about immigration under Joe Biden. Very, very interesting one. And we will be going into it very soon. Before we do that, Captain Mike will give us the weather, sports, and health updates. I am sure that he has a ton for us. We missed him for this past few days, of course, because we're not live, and some of the times he had to work as well. So let's share the feed as we watch it. Now we'll come back and introduce our guests, but before then, let's hear what Captain Mike has for us. Captain Mike, good to have you back on the show, man. Good to have you back. What do you got for us?
Yeah, good to be back. Well, right now at Midway Airport, we have an isolated thunderstorm, which is kind of hovering right above the airport. So the rest of Chicago, mostly cloudy skies, about 86 degrees. Of course, a little cooler by the lake. South winds at about 8 miles an hour. Now, for the rest of tonight, what we're going to look at is possible rain and thunderstorms, just like the one we have over Midway right now, isolated. For the rest of the week, until Tuesday, it's going to be very hot and muggy. So tomorrow, muggy about 90 degrees. Friday, about 88. Possible thunderstorms tomorrow and Friday. Saturday, we're going to call it mostly sunny skies. Not looking at any kind of rain or anything, but really hot. Sunday, hot, partly cloudy. Highs about 90. Monday, pretty much we're getting to that late summer pattern. We're going to have possible thunderstorms, 85 degrees. Tuesday, we can call it cooler. It's going to feel a little cooler because it's not going to be as muggy, about 77 degrees on a high there, but we're still going to have a possibility of rain and thunderstorms. Wednesday is going to be the best day out of them all. Sunny, mostly sunny skies. A few stray clouds here and there, and a high of about 75 degrees. So we're looking forward to that, and it should feel a lot cooler. And the Tuesday and Wednesday night should get down to maybe about 70, maybe a little lower into the 60s. So keep those windows open, and it's going to feel really good. Right now, the Rockies from Colorado are at Wrigley Field playing the Cubs, bottom of the second inning, 2-1 they're leading. White Sox today are in Toronto. They'll play about 6:10 p.m. Talking about our health and fitness report, we're going to talk about our eyes. As pilots, we have to get our eyes checked all the time. Friday, I'll get another checkup, and they'll check our eyes, make sure everything's going okay. But vision is very important to everyone. So we're at a high risk. Black people are at a higher risk for certain eye diseases, including glaucoma, cataracts, and some diabetic retinopathies. They can cause blindness, and some of them even have no symptoms. So black people are at a higher risk of glaucoma at an earlier age, and certain members of our community, we also have higher rates of vision loss and blindness caused by eye disease, and these rates are actually getting higher. The good news is that if you get a comprehensive dilated eye exam, they can find most of these eye diseases early and take care of them, and some are even easy to treat. So right now, I need everyone who's watching us and listening to tell everyone, get checked. Go to your favorite eye doctor. And number 2, spread the word. You can find more information on blackdoctor.org or the National Eye Institute's website. So spread the word, and let's think about eye health and make sure everyone is healthy out there. So with that, Sina, we're going to go back to you.
Thank you so much, Captain Mike. We appreciate the updates. We always like to know, of course, with your industry, things picking back up. It's obvious now. People are partying, traveling, and all of that. My assumption is that the airline industry has picked up to full picking up.
No.
Okay.
We're still in the same holding pattern that we've been the last few months. We're just about 73% capacity as we were in 2019 before the first COVID outbreak. So we're kind of holding steady, and most of that is international travel. There are a lot of countries that still have a lot of restrictions. So domestically, yeah, we're pretty much at full capacity, and we're running a lot of flights to a lot of leisure destinations. But we're still waiting for that international travel to pick up. So
Yeah.
should be happening soon, but also be safe out there. Wear those masks, talk to your doctors, get your shots. Everybody's safe.
Thank you so much once again, Captain Mike. We're hoping to see you next week. In the meantime, go home, enjoy the weather some, go to the lake. You know, you live by me. But maybe after the show, I'll meet you up there.
Yeah, because winter's coming sooner or later.
Yes, so we got to take it all in as much as we can. My brother, once again, good evening and see you soon.
Take care.
All right, so we'll go straight to our audience. Our wonderful guest this evening. We're going to be talking about immigration under Joe Biden. It's very, very important that we look at how things have transpired so far. We're going to be looking at processes, policy, and advocacy. And we have the experts here who are going to help us with this conversation. Once again, good evening. And we appreciate you and welcome you to the Progressive Mind Show. Share this feed if you're on Facebook, YouTube, and on Twitter. We are very glad to be looking at another very interesting topic. And as I said, it's immigration under Joe Biden, looking at these categories, processes, policy, and advocacy. Before we delve into today's discussion, let me go ahead and introduce our great guest for this evening, as I mentioned earlier, in the person of ABUBAKR MEAH. He's JD. JD means an attorney, but jurisdiction at what's the name again? My brother?
Juris Doctor.
Oh, yes. Thank you for the correction. Now, that tells you obviously that I'm not a lawyer. So ABUBAKR MEAH he's a staff attorney with United African Organization, UAO. We have Diana KONATE. KONATE, she's also JD, a policy director at Africa Communities Together, ACT, out in Washington, D.C. FASIKA. ALEM is also a programs director at United African Organization, UAO, here in Chicago. And lastly, DAPHNEE PIERRE CAMILIEN. She is attorney at law and currently the president of the Haitian Lawyers Association. Attorney DAPHNEE, if I butchered your last name, please pardon me.
You're fine.
I'm good. Okay, thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome to the show. And I think I have ABUBAKR and mute. We cannot hear you and Diana. Awesome. Let's begin with DAPHNEE. So I think if you live in this country and across the globe and you follow immigration closely, folks like us who belong to the immigrant community, we pay close attention. But immigration has always been part of the American story, and it's not just related to America. Every country deal with it because we are people that move around. The world is a global place, a global village, they call it. And so there's that freedom of movement. So immigration would always be with us. But in America, it's a special case. It's a country that opens its borders to everyone to come in, refugees, regardless of your status, and to give you the opportunity to do better for yourself. Now, we know that during Trump, from the recent administration that we're coming from, there were a lot of laws that President Trump, enacted through his immigration, through his secretary who was in charge, Stephen Miller, right? He was in charge of immigration then, and came up with a lot of policies that affected the immigrant community a lot. People talked about it, but we know now. I mean, at least we are hearing that Joe Biden being in office now is undoing some of these immigration policies that were not necessarily working in favor of I'll say Africans, Caribbeans, in the immigrant community in general. So please go ahead and help us, walk us through some of these policies that we know are being currently undone by Joe Biden.
Hi, yeah. I'd like to start off by saying thank you for having me here. So you're correct. I'd start off by saying the immigration policies in the United States have been broken, and they've been broken for a while. Well before the Trump administration, most people who've been through the immigration process realize that if they're a citizen of the United States or a green card holder in the United States, and they go and file for their brother or sister in their home country, the process can take easily 15 years. So something that takes that long lets you know something is wrong.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So, but under the Trump administration, I do believe he took advantage of some of that brokenness. Mm-hmm. And made a lot of changes, and then this current administration, Biden administration, is reversing them. And some of them are, he did a public charge rule, right, which basically is saying, like, if you're trying to go on, if they find out you've gone on government assistance, if you're in the U.S., they find out that you've gone on government assistance, they can deny you the opportunity to get a green card, right? So.
Great. Before you continue, Daphne, I don't know if you're sitting by a fan or maybe something, because we're getting this feedback.
Oh, you are?
Yes. So if you don't mind, so if you can take a look at that for us, I would like you to continue your submission, because it's very, very important. Whilst you're doing that, let's hear from Diana KONATE with ACT. Diana, you're welcome to the show once again.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure, Diana. And so let's understand what ACT stands for, African Community Together. The name, of course, is self-explanatory, but what do you stand for, and how long have you been in existence?
How long have I been?
No, how long has your organization been?
I'm sorry. So African Communities Together has been around since the end of 2012, beginning of 2013. So we're still a pretty young organization, but I would say that we've been able to accomplish a lot in the short few years that we've been around. And basically, our organization, we're a membership grassroots-based organization, and we are made up of African immigrants and our families, and we work to essentially improve the lives of African immigrants here in the U.S. And we do that by providing direct legal services to African immigrants in the locations where we're located, where we're actually physically located.
Okay.
So right now we have chapters in New York. We have a DC chapter with offices in DC and Virginia. We also do some work in Maryland. But we provide direct legal services. We also develop leaders from within our membership.
Okay.
And then third, we are involved in advocacy at the local, state, and federal level. Mm-hmm. Me being responsible for our federal advocacy in the space of immigration policy.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much for giving us that background. And I know you do a lot. I checked you out, check your website out. Great organization with a lot of very important people doing different things there. And so if you say that you were a policy director, and you told us briefly what you do in that regards, does that also mean that you were constantly at DC, the capital, lobbying? Are you lobbying policymakers, or are you literally working with some of the federal legislators to get immigration policy looked at, in the favor of our immigrants?
Yeah, so basically that is what I do, lobby
Okay.
policymakers in DC, in Congress.
Okay.
And I would say that my purpose in this role is to make sure that the interests of African immigrants are being considered when federal immigration policy is being written. So a lot of the work that we do and that I do for at the organization is make sure that we're at the table and make sure that we're bringing the concerns of our membership to the table. And right now, as Congress works on providing a pathway to citizenship for what will hopefully be millions of immigrants here in the U.S., we're making sure that our communities aren't left out of that.
Thanks for the great work. Proud to my education on what lobbying is. When you watch the news and you listen to politicians, the way it is thrown around, it gives it a bad vibe, right? It has this negative connotation. If you hear the word lobbying, you think, oh, these are bad people trying to, make laws that will hurt people, right? So, but of course, I had my own education, and again, knowing that you are in that position, doing a great job with that, again, under that umbrella, the lobbying umbrella, that's very impressive. Thank you so much for working on behalf of the people of Africa and humanity in general. So thank you so much. Camila, no, not Camila, Daphne, Attorney Daphne CAMILIEN. You are back, and we know, sorry we had to interrupt you because of but hopefully we have it situated now. Please go ahead with your submission with regards to the Trump's laws that was negatively affecting immigration and what Joe Biden is doing in that regard.
So yeah, please let me know if I have to change locations. I will, or if it's a little bit better. I'm hoping it is the connection, or no.
No, we still hear it, but it's not bad. It's not. It will not hamper our delivery. So please go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
So some of the things that was a public charge that they started to enforce, right? It was a rule that basically said that if you if you received any type of government assistance within a certain time frame, and you later tried to get status, or tried to get a green card, that they could determine that you could be a public charge and therefore ineligible to receive benefits such as green card. That was when Biden became president. He got rid of the public charge rule. Another thing that under Trump's administration is the fees for a lot of immigration applications, such as some of the fees to adjust status. There was lots of fees, your citizenship fee, the things of that nature. Like the actual application fee hasn't been changed in years. He had suggested and put out a chart for a significant increase this is under Trump's administration. And one of the biggest things was they wanted to charge a fee for asylum, which has always been free. So the issue under Biden's administration, he went ahead and got rid of that new new fee structure. Another thing that was done is the citizen test, right? So, so many people every year take the citizen test. People are familiar with the test. They were proposing to change the actual test, and they had started that preparation. It was supposed to go into effect, and under Biden's administration, they went ahead and reverted back to the old citizen test. The point of changing the test was to make it more difficult, not easier. Okay. Some of the things is TPS for temporary protected status that was about to expire for many countries who had it. Instead of renewing it, he ended TPS for multiple countries, and TPS is given to countries that have some type of.
Before you continue, I want you to maybe take us back a little bit on TPS. So when we hear this word, it's a temporary protection status. Yes, again, the name that is, explains itself. But what does that do? What does that mean? Just so regular folks who are listening, who may not be vexed with some of these jargons or these terms, will have a basic understanding of what this does.
Right. So TPS, the temporary protected status, so what it is if a country has, for example, like a natural disaster. I'll give an example because it's close to dear to my heart. Is Haiti, who just had an earthquake. Okay. So the people who are in the United States at the time of this natural disaster, at a certain date, right, if they cannot go back to their country because of a natural disaster, because of some type of political, like when I say political, like some type of turmoil in the country, there has to be a certain thing that the U.S. is a special destination that they can determine for a particular country, that if they have the people of that country are in the United States at the time, that these things are going on in their home country, that they will give them, and they do not have legal status, they will give them some type of status, which is this temporary protected status. And what that does is it allows them to get a social security number, and it allows them to work in the United States. And typically, there are countries who've had TPS for, I think it's El Salvador, who might have had it for 20 years, right? Because of the things that are going on in their country. Haiti, the first major earthquake in Haiti of recent years was in 2010. Over 200,000 people died. Infrastructure was bad. They couldn't receive all the people who were here. A lot of people who were here at the time received temporary protected status. That had been renewed since 2010. So now what was going on is under the past administration, Trump administration, he ended it, right? He ended it for a bunch of countries. But when Biden took power, he reestablished TPS for countries, a bunch of countries, and also reestablished it for the countries. It's not a lot. I think don't quote me, I believe it's about 12 countries right now. It might be between 12 and 15 countries. He reinstated TPS for a lot of those countries, and has been adding TPS for some other countries. So that's something that he's done that's different from the past administration.
Okay. And I know there are about 2 or 3 that, policies that you can help us walk through. I mean, you can walk through with us. But we'll come to that quickly, and we'll come to that very soon. Okay. We'll also have you touch on immigration when it comes to Haiti. And so we talked about that. So we'll have you come. But I want to hear from FASIKA and ABUBAKR. So FASIKA, you obviously work for United African Organization as a programs director. For those who don't know you and understand what that means, can you in a few seconds let us know what really that entails?
Okay. Thank you, Sana. So maybe a brief description of UAO to begin with. So UAO is a coalition of African community-based organizations, and our goals are, our work focuses on promoting social and economic justice, civic participation, and empowerment of African immigrants across the state of Illinois. So within that, although we are a small organization, so oftentimes we wear multiple hats, right? So we all help each other out in different areas. But primarily my focus has been around public policy and advocacy, meaning, as Diana mentioned earlier, making sure that the interests of African immigrants are represented, are heard, and therefore that's making sure that we are participating and present in the variety of discussions that are happening at the state level, and obviously at the federal level too, around policies that affect African immigrants. So we are, for example, a member of the Illinois Coalition for Immigrant and Refugee Rights. We are a member of Refugee Action Network. We're a member of the Illinois Language Access Coalition. Okay. And recently we also joined, and we have national partners. For example, we are in frequent communication with ACT regarding, they do a lot of federal work, so they really support us in understanding what is happening at that level. Right. But we also work in other coalitions at the national level too. There are different advocacy groups. For example, a TPS for Cameroon group that we joined recently, but there's also a Black immigrant collective. So my role is to make sure that, we are participating in those forums and making sure that the interests of our communities and organizations we represent in our coalition are, being presented.
Thank you so much for sharing. That gives us a very good insight to the workload that you deal with day in, day out. No reason, no wonder when I try to call you, you miss my calls most of the time. and you are late to respond to my messages. I understand. No hard feelings. I get it.
I appreciate the understanding.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and then you have to go home to the family, and do all of that. I see little baby beside you.
She's popping in to check.
I know she's popping. I know she's excited today because she got her citizenship. She got her American passport. American passport or citizenship?
An American passport. She was born here. She was born.
That is so beautiful. So why did she have to get the passport today? Are you guys planning on traveling, or this is just a procedure?
It's a little bit of both.
Okay, good. Okay, now what I'm trying to get to is, now that she has it, what's her age, if you don't mind sharing?
She's 7.
She's 7.
Yeah.
For a young, beautiful lady at 7 who has an African heritage, and I know she would love to go to Ethiopia if she hasn't been yet, to see your beautiful where her parents come from. What does this mean to her? What was her reaction when she received the passport? Of course, she's born here, but can you help explain how it all played out with her? If you don't mind her sharing, if she wants to share, she can do that too. I mean, we're good.
She's already left. But I think we do travel. After I've been fortunate enough to take them back home about 2-3 times, so we do travel. So for them, it's important to be able to connect with their family abroad.
Okay.
But she was most excited about seeing her picture. How it turned out, and she liked her hairstyle on the picture, so she was excited to see that.
Great. Thank you for sharing. That was just by the way, listeners. This is the Progressive Mind Show. It's a community, the number one community building platform where we come together and engage in these very pertinent issues that concerns all of us. And so we like to do our own thing. We like to bring the family feel, the community feel. So please do not hesitate to share your opinion. You can ring in, comments, whatever, be part of the conversation, because that's how we get to build our community. And I want to hear from ABUBAKR. So you are the staff attorney for UAO. Of course, now that again, it's obvious what you do, work with folks who need immigration assistance. But apart from the basic knowledge that people may have about what you do as an attorney at UAO, what else does your job entail that you would like to share to the community?
So, I've noticed that since starting with United African Organization, we're not an organization. We're actually a brand. It's just an organization could be anything, but we're beyond that, right? We are there for the African community. We are there for their social concerns. We're there for their mental well-being. And with that comes a lot of responsibilities. A lot of the community, right, of our community members are leaving from places that are quite politically unstable, and they're running away, and they're fleeing persecution, and they're fleeing war, and they're fleeing famine. So one of the biggest, I want to call it a reward for my aspect from joining UAO is helping people to cope with that. And now we do see a lot of people who are domestic violence victims, right, who are eligible for petitions such as VAWA, a form of relief, an immigration form of relief, right? So they can get legal status in the country. But that comes with a lot of responsibility. These people are oftentimes our sisters, our mothers, our daughters. And we have to sit down and we have to talk to them and, try to find a remedy for them, a mental social well-being for them, provide them a safe environment, and at the same time, provide them the skills they need to survive and thrive in the United States in the situation that they're in. And that's a big challenge. Yeah. But we at UAO, we are living to it. We are dedicated to it, and we have often proved it. And that's something that we will stand by, and we will continue to stand by.
Wow.
So, you know, for United African Organization, for our clients, like I said, we're a brand. We're their source of refuge. You know, when it comes to social well-being, they come to us. When it comes to mental well-being, they come to us. When it comes to financial well-being, the community comes to us. And when it comes to immigration well-being, it comes to us. So let's try and tie that all into a bubble. I mean, that's one of the challenges that we have, and that's a lot of the things I do. I mean, I tell people jokingly, you know, I like to say 40% of my job is actually immigration work. 60% of my job is being a social worker, because the amount of social work and the amount of client attachment that we have is beyond you know, any organization I work with thus far.
No, that's powerful. And again, thank you for sharing. With your, I can only before we started the show, you know, I kind of felt your hospitality, your humor, and my assumption is by you working with all these different folks from different African, different backgrounds, including Africa. You talked about Ghana and all of that. How many of the dialects or languages have you picked so far?
I mean, Yoruba, you know, Igbo, Hausa, you know, my Nigerian brothers, you know,
Nice.
we got a little Shri coming in once in a while. We got for the Cameroonian brothers and sisters,
Okay.
and, you know, our brothers in Benin, of Lume and Cotonou. You know, we have the French coming in. So,
Oh,
you know,
my gosh.
we were getting a little bit all of the above. So it is definitely it's actually a very rewarding place. I mean, Africa, God has blessed it. You know, each and every country has its own culture, its own dialect, its own people, and you know, and at the end of the day, it's still one Africa.
No, thank you so much for sharing. And I'm sure you've been introduced to the food too. You mentioned banku and okra. So I don't know if you've already had some yet. Have you tasted that? Have you gotten a chance to eat it?
I'm telling you, banku saves marriages. It's one of the best inventions that we made. Great. Everyone should have it. If you haven't had it, Ghanaian food, go for the banku.
Go for the banku, and let me add this to it. Okra. Banku goes with okra soup. So just FYI. That was by the way. ABUBAKR, thank you so much for sharing. Diana, let me get this quick from Diana. Daphne, I'll be coming to you in a second. But I want to know some of the things that Diana has been doing literally at the federal level. So if you can help us understand some of these things, Diana, that would be very helpful, if you don't mind.
Sure. So I think one of our main priorities that we are working on right now is trying to get legalization through Congress. As your audience may know, Congress is currently working on President Biden's infrastructure plan, which contains both a physical infrastructure component as well as a human infrastructure component. And that human infrastructure piece, which is moving through a process called budget reconciliation, is where there is currently money, essentially, for legalization. And just yesterday, the House of Representatives passed a budget resolution essentially agreeing to that number. So a little bit over $100 billion is going to be used in the coming months to legalize immigrants in the US. And they passed a budget resolution agreeing to that number. At this point, they're at the stage where they're actually going to write the legislation. So in a couple of weeks, we should know what communities could possibly be protected through that legislation. And, as advocates, we're trying to get as many of the 11 million undocumented people in this country with status. But that push is being led by, I'll say we're trying to get a broad number of people in there, leading with folks with Daca, folks who have TPS, farm workers, and essential workers. So that's one of the main areas that African Communities Together is working on. Outside of that, we are also working on what is called LRIF, the Liberian Refugee Immigration Fairness Act. And this is a program that was passed into law in 2019, giving Liberians who have been in the US since 2014 an opportunity to apply for green cards. There have been some implementation issues with that green card program. So we have been doing a lot of advocacy on trying to improve how that program is being run. Lastly, the third priority that our organization has is around diversity visas. As you all may know, the diversity visa program is one of the main ways that Africans immigrate to the US. You know, of the diversity visas that are handed out every year, a majority of those go to Africans. I want to say about 40% go to Africans. So we
are you referring to the lottery visa?
Yes, diversity. Yeah, the visa lottery.
Okay, visa lottery. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks for the correction.
So part of what we're trying to do federally with that program is just make sure that it's strengthened. And under the Trump administration, that administration Trump tried as hard as he could to terminate the program, but luckily he was unsuccessful in terminating it. But his administration did put into place several things that kind of handicapped it. One being what's called the passport rule, essentially requiring that people, before they've even learned that they've won the visa lottery, requiring them to get a passport. What that has done is basically prevented a lot of individuals, particularly those who are low income and who can't, for whom getting a passport just on the off chance that you might win the diversity visa lottery is just not financially feasible. So what that regulation did was basically, I would say, cut in half the number of diversity visa applications that we got. And for African countries, that number, there was a decrease after the first year that the regulation was put into place. There was 62% less DV applications from Africa. Some countries saw their diversity visa program almost wiped out. So for example, Sierra Leone, there was a 94% drop in applications from Sierra Leone.
Wow.
Ghana, there was a 89% drop in applications from Ghana. So, this is one of the areas that we're working on, and really hoping that this new administration will undo that policy.
Thank you so much for sharing this very important information with us. We would like to hear from Daphne now. If you can please go ahead and complete these two other policies. Maybe I'm thinking that Diana may have mentioned those, but if you can go ahead and finish it before that, we'll take a short break. When we come back, the show continues. You'll be watching the Progressive Mind Show live on Facebook and on YouTube. We are also on Twitter currently live there. We are very excited that our audio version is on podcast. And so it's on Spotify. So we have a podcast version. If you want to hear some of our past shows, if you're Spotify, you just go and search the Progressive Mind Show. You'll see some of our past shows, audio version. You can listen to it on your ride home, on your ride to work, wherever that you're. And we're also working currently to get the live audio version of the show going, so that if you can watch live on Facebook, you can listen to us as we have the live shows. Please take a moment to share the feed for us as we take this short break. When we come back, we'll be going to Attorney Daphne and the rest of our guests to continue the conversation on immigration under Joe Biden. We shall be right back. We're back on the show, and this is the Progressive Minds. We are encouraging you all to share the feed on Facebook and on YouTube so we can increase, we can spread the message of immigration and some of the information that we want to share with the community this evening. Very, very important. Some of the new policies that are coming. You may hear a word or get some information that will be valuable to a member of your community, to yourself maybe. You can also get help from these folks who are here. Information was going to be shared. You can go on their website and check them out. In the course of the show, we'll give that information out. If you want to also call and share your opinion, the number is 815-277-5047, 815-277-5047, or 5042. The comments have come in so far. We have a few folks who have joined us on Facebook. Eunice Cromwell says, good evening. Thank you so much, Eunice, for joining this program this evening. Great information. Good job, guys, from Rebecca Modi. Thank you so much, Rebecca. Mirabel is also watching us. Mirabel, hey, lady, Mirabel, long time. Thanks for joining us. And Lara is also here. And we have Anita Lorita. Hold on one second. Just make sure I'm not butchering the name. This is from Manisan Karamalko. And then, yes, Larita Anthony is also here with us. Again, feel free to share your comments and your opinions regarding our conversation this evening. Attorney Daphne, please go ahead and complete the list for us.
I was muted, so I apologize. I just wanted to mention DACA, right, which is Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, and this is a program for there's several guidelines, but this is a program for basically the AKA for this is dreamers, right? It's for the kids, the people who came here when they were young, and it's what's giving them, allowing them to come out of the shadows to apply for DACA so that they could get a work authorization that they would have to renew every 2 years. So under Trump administration, he said he wanted to end DACA. Several lawsuits occurred, and when Biden became president, he promised to preserve DACA, reinstate DACA. Lots of lawsuits. So at a certain point, DACA was reinstated. Lawsuits occurred. It went all the way. I mean, it's in the courts, and DACA was restored. But what happened was recently, as a little bit over a month ago, there was another lawsuit. So even though we have a new administration, there's still a lot of people who feel a certain type of way about immigration in the United States, immigrants in the United States, and they are still trying to litigate some of these laws in the courts. So DACA is one of those things that's kind of been embattled. As Attorney Diana had said earlier, with this new bill that is right now in Congress, one of the things that they're trying to do is offer protections for people who have DACA, who have temporary protected status, the migrant workers, and a huge chunk of people, which is the essential workers. So everyone's hoping that, well, not everyone, but most people are hoping that there will be protection under DACA. So, I mean, DACA is a great example to show people that even though we have a new administration and there are certain things, I'm not saying it's perfect. There are certain things that he is working on, or this current administration is trying to reverse and change. There are still people out there who are fighting and filing lawsuits and trying to get it back to what was under the Trump administration. There are many organizations that are filing lawsuits that are supporting people as well. So we just have to, continue to fight and stay tuned. But yeah, one of the things was DACA. But yeah, nothing is guaranteed. So even though you see something has changed, immigration is changing every single day. Right. Everyone can probably say that there's new stuff coming out. There's changes every day. So we just have to be mindful and keep watching and see what's going on.
Thank you so much for sharing. We have a question on we'll go through a couple specific questions on this topic, but let's take this viewer's question. She's I don't know that. Okay, I don't know if it's a he or she, but May's Jim says, is there any plans for overstayers? And okay. All right, Tugby Hododiyo says, great show, great discussion, bro. Thank you so much, Tugby, for joining. I just want to get a few comments out of the way before we take that question. This is from Ogunya Bimbo Edewomi. Awesome job. Thank you so much, my brother or sister. Again, the names I'm not sure, but Ogunya, thank you so much for joining, sharing your comment. Anyone wants to respond to this question? I don't know if ABUBAKR wants to take this one.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to overstayers, there's always, I don't want to say always, I mean, there are options for overstayers, right? I mean, I know that currently in the, it depends on when they came to the United States, right? Mm-hmm. It is a broad question, right? But there's always option for overstayers. You know, that there's some form of relief that may be eligible for them, but the only way that I can tell you for sure is if I get more detail. I know that currently there is some form of amnesty that the Biden administration has been implementing, or I mean, has been trying to, that will be going to the Biden administration from Congress. But you know, that if the person is eligible or not, they'll all ultimately will come down to, you know, were they physically present as of January 2021? You know, have they resided continuously? You know, there's a bunch of protocols that has to look into before I can give them a solid answer on is there really an option for an overstayer. There's always some sort of option, but the question is that form of relief really, if that person is eligible for that form of relief? And for me to actually answer that, the only way we're going to know that for sure is we look at the totality of the circumstances on from the time that they're here to the time they're physically present, why they're here, and whatnot. So I mean, there may be always options available, but the only way we can have a case-by-case analysis. You know, if the person's in Chicago, please come to our office at 4910 South King Drive. You know, we have an open door policy, United African Organization. You know, do a immigration intake, and then, you know, one of our attorneys or our legal representatives will schedule you an appointment.
Thank you so much for helping share some clarification on that, you know, sharing that info on that question. Now, this is just likely, okay? So, viewer, you have two attorneys here. One works for UAO, a not-for-profit organization. Is that correct? Okay. So the assumption is that they might be cheaper. Now you have a private attorney too. Daphne Chameleon is also here. So you have the option to go to any of these people who can help you, but just be aware that one is more expensive than the other because no, I'm just kidding. Okay. Attorney Daphne is cool. She will work with you if you decide to go with her. All right. But thank you so much for helping get that information. Again, thank you so much. And I think he's getting back to us. He says, got here on a visiting visa in 2018. Yes, presently in Chicago. So
just to come chime in here, yeah. There is, and FASIKA can probably elaborate more on it, there is something for those that you know, who are here undocumented, mm-hmm. In this proposed bill that is going through through Congress and ultimately will go to you know, the next checks and balances system. Okay. So we don't know what are the exact details are, right? Because they're still working that through and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But you know, put it this way, all hopes is not lost, mm-hmm. right? So there may be option, but then again, there might be even more of options available. And the only way I can know that if I do a thorough legal intake with the client and see what remedies are there.
Thank you so much again. Now, if you, I'm sure some of you, of course, you're all at home, but please help us mitigate the background noise so we're not getting feedback. Thank you all. Attorney Daphne, it would be fair for you to chime in on the question that came. If there are any specifics that you would want to, you know, spell out there for maize to understand in terms of getting help for overstayers, please feel free to do so. Any other comments, again, feel free to add to what Attorney ABUBAKR said.
Yeah, I do want to say there's Miss Diana is an attorney as well, I believe, right? There's 3 of us on here.
Oh,
But I'm not practicing.
But just
yes.
but no shade to Miss
Diana,
I tell people I don't give legal advice. Don't get me in trouble.
okay. You know what? So that's why I wrote her off, because I'm like, she's a policy, she's a lobbyist. Okay, let me just put her in that category. So I wasn't thinking law, so pardon me, Attorney Diana. But thanks for the clarification. I know you focus more on policy, right?
But I will say my organization does provide legal services, including immigration legal services to African immigrants who are in our locations. So and that representation, that support, or those legal services, I should say, is free. Particularly if you live in New York or DC, Northern Virginia, and Montgomery County in Maryland. So I did want to put that out there in case there are some individuals in those locations.
Some folks in Chicago will be very frustrated by what you just said. Like,
sorry.
How are you on a show in progressive, on a show in Chicago? You're talking.
We're online. We're online. I know there are people probably in Ghana listening.
You're right. You're right. I was just messing with you, but thanks for sharing. For Chicagoans who would want a free service too, maybe you can contact UA. I don't know if they may have some options if you are having financial difficulties. This is why this organization is here. And I don't know, Attorney Daphne, again, if you have any input to this, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with and I'm going to say his name wrong, Attorney ABUBAKR.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, he's giving me a pass. I'm sure I said it wrong, but I would. So it's really hard to for overstay. It's really hard because you don't know the circumstance. We don't even know which country it's from, right? Mm-hmm. Overstay, when you came, is just there's so many other questions that need to be asked. So it's hard to do it on a show like this. Mm-hmm. So I would encourage the person to go but he's 100% right. There are stuff out there. It would just depend on the situation. There's with this new bill that's coming out, overstay, is there are they an essential worker? Like we don't know, like there could be several categories that this person qualifies. Right. So it's really important to sit down with the attorney. And I am not a non-for-profit. I am a private attorney, but I say that to say that I always tell people this, right? I do have people who come to me and maybe they can't afford the fees, but I have worked for a non-for-profit in my lifetime. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing. There are attorneys working on your cases, and I'm an attorney working on your case. So if you want, being in the Chicagoland area, there's a couple of organizations out there that offer immigration services for either free or very low cost, nominal, right? $25 for copying. That's what I mean, like nominal. Right. So they need to take advantage of that. And understand that immigration is one of those things that takes time. Mm-hmm. So please do not come 1 week before you have to go to court and ask for services, because especially because I've been on both sides. So but understand that there are people out there that want to help, and there are services out there all over, from the suburbs to south side to the north side. So it takes a little bit of research, but yeah, organizations are out there that are willing to help.
Thank you so much for sharing. I wanted to pose this question real quick. I think that, so May says he's Nigerian. That is okay. So Mays, you do have this resource people that you can reach out to. Their information, I would share them on the guys. If you can pass on the information to the private chat, so we can share it publicly. Website, emails, phone numbers. You can also visit their websites, social media pages. If there are any, we will share. If not, reach out to the Progressive Minds directly on our social media pages. You can also ring personally, 409-9123, or you can call 815-277-5047. We would freely provide you all this resource contacts. Remember, the Progressive Mind Show is a non-for-profit platform, and so we are more than happy to serve the community. Let's take a few comments on that has come through. We will definitely continue with the show. This is from Ogunya again. Can you please elaborate more on those that are classified as essential workers in the new immigration policy? Anyone wants to take on this question? I know you are experts, and so you.
I really think that it's just a little bit too early to tell, because they're still trying to get the nits and crannies. And I mean, realistically, everyone, for the most part, is an essential worker, right? Is that like a commerce clause where it's just a catch-all phrase? We don't know, right? So it's just a little bit too early to tell, in my humble opinion. Now, Daphne, Diana, and FASIKA, please chime in here. But yeah. I just think that it's one of those things that it's just right now to categorize, or what constitutes an essential worker.
FASIKA was ready to jump on it before you.
So it is early. However, I think we're at a very critical time, because now that the resolution vote is behind us, right? Now is when they're going to start writing the language around these legislations that includes language about who is eligible and is not eligible, right? So this is actually a very important time for us to get involved in that process. And so from at least, our work here in the state of Illinois has been really engaging our legislators, our members of Congress, to push them on making sure that the language that is going to be included in these bills is as inclusive as it can be, right? And so part of that is making sure that there are no criminal bars. We know that when they put together these immigration legislations, usually they have these criminal bars that say, if you have committed these type of crimes or these numbers of misdemeanors or a felony, that you will not be eligible to adjust your status. And so, that is part of the issue. But, as the audience member stated, right, we don't know what essential means, but we have a chance to make sure that even that definition can be as inclusive as possible.
Got it.
So that more people can benefit from the legislation that includes them. So, on that note, I want to, for those that are in the Chicago area, we're actually planning an action. One of the key folks that we're targeting here in Illinois is Senator Dick Durbin, who is chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee. And they're essentially, the main folks that are writing the language around these bills. So our focus is to pressure him, to really get him to understand what our community is looking for, what our communities are looking for in terms of who is included. And, the goal is to include everybody, if we could include all 11 million, that's really our goal. But knowing the restrictions that we have around the categories of folks that have been included in the bills, even that we want to make it as inclusive as possible. So next Tuesday, the 31st of August, we actually have an action targeting Senator Durbin in the downtown area. So we are still working on the details. And so for anybody that's interested, I'm going to share our social media platforms on here. If you could share, people can follow us to keep updated on the action and how they can engage with that work.
Excellent. Thank you so much, FASIKA, for giving us that information and for sharing what you just said. It is the Progressive Mind Show. We are here live in the studios in the studios of Chicago. We are located in Chicago, I meant to say, pardon me. We are a community building show, a non-for-profit. And so yes, this is what I meant to say. I wanted to share with the community that we are excited that we have been granted our 501c3 status. Okay, it is a very great time for us as a platform and for all the work that we've been trying to do. We're very excited. So that means that you can now open your wallets and purses very wide and start dropping money to us, because you would always be able to file your taxes with them. They are tax deductible because we are 501c3. Now, I was being light with it in terms of all that. I was just being exaggerative with the whole thing. But the good thing is that our 501c status helps us, or at least should encourage you to donate to what we're doing, because it takes a lot of work to get all those things done week in, week out. We're here every Wednesday from 6 to 8 p.m. and on Sundays from 4 to 6 p.m. trying to bring you information and topical issues such as these and more to help build our community. And so we need you to support us so we can keep doing this and even do it better. And so thanks for giving me your audience. Fasika, thank you for sharing that information. I'm going to share it right away. But I know I'll tell you, Daphne, you have to go. But there's this question that I wanted to have you respond to, which is in regards to Haiti. So on August 3rd, 2021, the Department of Homeland Security issued the Federal Register notice redesigning Haiti for TPS for 18 months. What does it mean for the people of Haiti, knowing, all the issues, both political and environmental issues that has engulfed the country of Haiti?
So, so this was a big deal. So we knew, it actually in May 21st, 2021, Haiti was redesignated as a TPS country, temporary protected status country. And so we, Haitians in the United States diaspora, were waiting for the guidelines to come out. And in the interim, we had the assassination of the President Jovenel Moïse on July 7th, 2021, and we still didn't have guidelines. And finally, in August 3rd, the guidelines came out. We also know that an earthquake just occurred. So for the Haitians that are in the United States currently, this was huge. They actually made the guidelines broader in the fact that you just had to be in the United States as of that date. I think it was July 29th. Okay. And they had the opportunity to file for TPS. It's a potential of 100,000 people that this could affect. So this is a relief for the people who are here, who do not have status, to come out of the shadows, to go ahead and be able to work, to perhaps send money back to the people, family members who are back at home, to help them to rebuild, because a lot of the south of Haiti was destroyed in this previous earthquake. Haiti, needs a lot of help, and most of Haiti's GDP, Haiti's sustained by the diaspora, the people who are outside of Haiti who are sending money back to Haiti. So just giving them this opportunity to work is big, and peace of mind, because they didn't know what they were going to go back to, not just because of the earthquake, because of the president being assassinated. There's political instability right now. There's lots of gang stuff going on. There's a lot of stuff. They need an election. There's so many things that are going on. So this was big news for people who were here, and a relief to the people in the community.
Thank you so much, Attorney Daphne, for sharing. Now, if you have a few minutes to stay on, please indicate it on the private chat, because I may have some follow-up questions or some other questions for you. But again, let me know, because we had a prior conversation of your engagement with us. So again, thank you so much for sharing. And I'd like to hear from, there's this thing about amnesty that I want us to look at. And Fasika, you and I discussed this, and this is one of the things that you mentioned, and I would like us to take a look. It says, this is a quote from Senator Marco Rubio regarding amnesty. There are many issues I think we can work cooperatively with President Biden, but a blanket amnesty for people who are here unlawfully isn't going to be one of them. Quote, end unquote. This is again from Senator Marco Rubio. And I did like your opinion on this comment. So, which will lead us into amnesty. What is there? Has Joe Biden come up with some programs that can benefit folks who may, who may have use for these programs under amnesty? If there is, I don't know, Attorney Daphne, Attorney Diana, I know you work mostly in the policy area. So maybe you can respond to this, and then we can have ABUBAKR chime in as well.
Sure. So, I mean, luckily, the Democrats have control of the House and the Senate and the presidency. So we're at a moment in this country where we have this little bit of window where we can try to get this done, and we don't need Marco Rubio to get it done. So, and particularly if we're successful, if Congress is successful in moving this through the budget reconciliation process, which would only need Democrats to pass, and that currently only Democrats are working on. So, I think in the beginning of the process, senators attempted to do this, to get this done on a bipartisan basis. But, I mean, to be honest, it did not seem as though the Republicans were really serious about getting something done. And so we as advocates are glad that the Democrats have decided to go at it alone. We think that this is the year to get it done.
Right.
And we really hope that that they can make it to the finish line.
Thank you. I would want to get the opinion of ABUBAKR and FASIKA. We will also want to talk about the Mexico wall, but due to time sensitivity for Attorney Daphne, I want us to respond to this real quick. And it's a follow-up to the question earlier. First of all, what is amnesty to the layman's understanding? And based off what Attorney Diana said, if this law, if this amnesty policy is passed or laws enacted, how does it benefit folks within the immigrant community? What is in there that benefits them directly?
I can start off with the amnesty. Amnesty is basically a form of relief, and it's basically like a forgiveness.
Okay, I was going to have Attorney Daphne respond to that because of her time. So my bad. That was my bad. So please go ahead and respond. But ABUBAKR is here with us, so he would come in as well. He would chime in on this as well.
Right. So I'm just gonna copy what ABUBAKR said.
Copy and paste.
But it's almost like a pardon, a forgiveness for perhaps, like, if we want to say, like, violating immigration law by overstaying or being here without being here undocumented, not so it's almost like a pass, a pardon, right? And this is not the first.
It doesn't include somebody who's undocumented that has committed a felony or anything, or misdemeanor or anything like that.
So it would depend, right?
Okay.
It depends on the rules that is set up for the class of people that they say qualify. So immigration is great on rules, right? So they will definitely have guidelines in which are aka rules to say who qualifies and who doesn't, right? Okay. And then it's other. So and then we go from there, right? So without getting too deep into it, right? So if it's like you can't have a misdemeanor, but the person has a misdemeanor and it gets dropped, whatever. But there's going to be rules, and then we have to go from there. We don't know what the rules are.
Okay. So basically, and based off Attorney Diana, what you said, this law is, this bill is basically at Congress right now?
Yes, they are currently, so because they couldn't do this on a bipartisan basis, the Democrats will need to do it alone. And in order to be able to go through the Senate without the support of Republicans, they have to do it through a budget process. So it's not regular legislation, it's budget, it's part of the budget process. So because it's a part of the budget process, because they're doing this through the budget process, it takes a different form. So first they had to allocate the money. So that's what they just did. They allocated $107 billion to get this done. And then the second part is actually writing the legislation. So as FASIKA and ABUBAKR have both mentioned, we don't know what's in what's going to be in the legislation because they haven't actually finished it. They're in the process of writing it. And, once that process, happens over the next few weeks, by the middle of September, I'd say that we will know what is in the language, and can go from there in our advocacy.
So again, on amnesty, if under the umbrella of amnesty, let's say it's passed, can everybody who happens to be in a category where they're undocumented apply, or it usually goes to maybe a particular group of people from certain countries, or is just a law that is there that everybody who happens to be in the States, in the United States, illegally can try to apply and get benefit off of? Is that what it is?
Again, it's going to depend on what the legislation says.
Okay, it's always on that. Okay.
Yeah. So right now, for example, one of the pieces of legislation that advocates and we African communities together is trying to get into this bill is the American Dream and Promise Act, which provides status to dreamers and TPS holders. And as far as TPS holders go, the specific language in the bill says that it protects TPS holders who had TPS on January 1st, 2017. So that's the language that we had been advocating for. But since our advocacy around the American Dream and Promise Act, other countries have now gotten TPS. Venezuela has TPS, Burma has TPS, Haiti was just redesignated for TPS. So now if we want to capture these new people who have TPS, we have to, push for new language. So until that language is actually written, we won't know who actually qualifies.
Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing. Because Attorney Daphne has to leave us, I'll have her give us her last words. And in that, please help give us a brief understanding of what is happening with regards to, I don't know the name for it, but this immigration law that allows you to file for your brothers, relatives, basically relatives, outside, and bring them here. Is it called the spouse bill?
Family-based petitions.
Oh, okay, thank you. Is that the same one that President Trump's mother-in-law or parents were able to come into this country by?
So they probably came through their daughter, which is his wife, right? Because there's only a certain amount of people. So it's mother, father, brother, sister, right?
Yeah.
And child, right? So like that you could file for. Like you can't file for your cousins. You can't, there's, extended family you can't file for. So President Trump's wife, right, Melania, more than likely is the one that filed for her own parents to be able to come here. And I believe, didn't they get citizenship while he was in power?
You guys would know.
I believe there was some movement, but don't quote me. I won't say that for sure.
So the one that you can invite your brother and maybe their children is called family based.
Right, brother, and also husband, wife. I missed that one, but yes, it's family. It's family based petitions is what it is. So,
And that was and that's the law that used to. That takes 15 years, right?
So each category is different. So what they do is like they have certain visas that are available. Like the ones that are like if you're married and trying to bring your spouse here, right? That's going to be faster. If you're a citizen and you try to bring your mother or father here, that's faster, or your child. But when you're talking, the lowest category is a brother or sister over the age of 21, right? So if you're a citizen, you try to bring your brother or sister here, they're over the age of 21, and it takes, for that, there's so many people in that category that easily, and it depends on what country also, but easily, I deal with that all the time. It's, 15 years, 12 years,
Okay.
16, yeah.
But for your brothers and your sisters and your parents, 5 years maximum or 6 months?
Oh, there's no way to tell you like it's 6 months, 5 years. No. The immigration is backed up, and it's always been backed up. So it just depends. I never want to say they give you a category, they'll tell you 18 months, and it may or may not be that, for any immigration. So I never say it's going to be 6 months, 18 months. I will tell you it's going to be a long time for a brother or sister. And I'm giving you examples of real life.
Brothers and sisters, okay, but for mothers and children, those are quicker.
For your own biological, yes, they're sooner. But I can't tell you it's 6 months or 5 years. But yes, those are sooner, because those visas are a higher category. Their preferences are a higher category.
In the past, though, those categories used to be very quicker, right? The process was quicker. I don't know if you guys can, Attorney Diana, FASIKA, and ABUBAKR, if you can attest to, or maybe if you can just chime in on this, because, before I came here, I had people who were here, I had friends whose parents will file for them 3 months, six months. That's what we knew. If it has changed, please. But, maybe during Clinton's time, the laws were different. FASIKA and ABUBAKR, if you have any information on this?
I think that the issue is that there's only a certain cap of visas that are to be issued per those categories, right? For immediate relatives, obviously, there's not a cap on how many visas could be issued. But there's a cap for the rest of the categories. And based off of that, there's a lot more people that are applying, right? And the population in the United States is also growing.
Okay.
On top of that, embassies have become more and more strict, right? And more, they really want to vent out, and they really want to double check and make sure their T's are crossed and I's are dotted before they do a visa. So when you look at the totality of the situation, you'll come and then you'll be like, well, it's taking a long time. And, and then now on top of that, you have this COVID Delta thing that is really, is the cherry on top. So, they say patience is a virtue, and unfortunately for immigration matters, it's surely tested.
No, you're absolutely right. And we were supposed to give Attorney Diana her, the chance to give us a last word. So please, having given us, that information, feel free to close your session on this platform, on this episode, with your final words. We hope to engage you on another platform.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't. I think okay. You meant me, right?
Yes, I met you.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah. No, I was just saying. Sorry. Yeah. I was just gonna say. Thank you so much for having me on the show. For immigration is a system that is, like I said before, I do believe it's broken. I'm hoping that we have the opportunity to make significant changes through legislation. So we should stay tuned, pay attention to the news. If we're interested in this or affects us directly, please go and advocate for, your local congressperson, your local senator. You can write them and say this is important to you. And if you are someone who needs immigration services, please understand, no matter where you are, there's a bar association. That's where that you can Google. There's there's clinics, Google legal clinics in your area. Go and ask your questions and see, or go to a private attorney or go to a public legal clinic that will have attorneys as well that can possibly work on your case, or people who are designated that can work, who are accredited that can work on immigration services. There is help out there. So I would encourage anybody who has any immigration questions to please seek out professionals to help them in their matters. And once again, thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Attorney Daphne, Chameleon, for your great service to the community. I know you do have like a podcast or, right?
I do. Live in Conversation. Actually, it's later on this evening as well on Facebook at 8:30 p.m. where we talk about, I do talk about immigration issues, and we talk about what's going on in the news with my co-host. Her name is also Daphne. So it's two Daphnes. Her name is Daphne Renee Antoine, and me, Daphne Chameleon.
Thank you so much again. And that was Attorney Daphne Chameleon. Did I get it right?
Yes.
I've been struggling to. Okay. She is attorney at law. She owns a firm. She owns the Chameleon Law Firm. So thank you again for sharing, for being part of the show this evening. Definitely looking forward to engaging you again, and have a wonderful evening. Whilst she takes leave of us, we will take this short break. When we come back, the show continues.
Aglow, aglow, aglow. Aglow International in Bolingbrook invites you to our meeting this and every Saturday from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Time. That is 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Aglow is a dynamic global kingdom movement with a single purpose: to see God's will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Aglow is a network of praying, caring, and evangelism. Being aglow for Jesus means be burning in the Spirit of God, and is taken from Romans 12:11. Our mandate is every nation touched and every heart changed for God. Aglow is in 170 nations, and our kingdom business is to come together to pray for our families, community, and our nation. Aglow will never be a church. Aglow is taking over all the world through its apostolic ministry of transforming lives. Our prayer meeting time is every Saturday from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Time via Zoom. Breakfast meetings are held every last Saturday of the month via the Zoom line as well. For more information, please contact Deaconess Rebecca Modi, President of the group, on phone number 630-297-1471. You may kindly also contact Reverend George Ofeado, who is an advisor to the group and also represent the men of FASIKA, on phone number 630-414-9505. Be part of Aglow, and your life will never be the same. Aglow, every nation touched and every heart changed for God. Remember, Jesus is coming soon. God richly bless you.
We're back on the show. Thank you for engaging with us. This is the Progressive Mind Show, where we build our community. We're the #1 community building show in the world. Every Wednesday, 6 to 8 p.m. we're here, and on Sundays from 4 to 6 p.m. Aglow International is one of the groups that help to keep our lights on, and to keep to make sure that we're here every week to help get this information, or to get these episodes going on. And we want to encourage you all to help us by visiting our website, theprogressivemindshow.com or thepmsshow.com, and make your contribution to us. As I stated, we are a 5-0. We are now a 501c3 organization. We do not have the status 501c, and so please engage. Please, we encourage you to go on there and make a contribution to us so that we can keep bringing you these shows and episodes week in, week out. We're back to our guest, FASIKA ALEM, ABUBAKR, and attorney Diana KONATE on this very important issue regarding immigration under Joe Biden. There are a ton of questions, but let's try and take these comments. He says, I live in Chicago. Please communicate how we can participate. Thank you. So if you're talking about participation on the show, the number is on the screen. However, if you want to reach out to, if you were looking for help with regards to your, any immigration issue, the information is on the screen. I've shared their information, UAO, their phone numbers, their emails. It's all on the chat. So please pick any of them and reach out to them. They'll be more than happy to assist you. And of course, you can say that you can mention you heard it on the Progressive Mind show. They might give you a special treatment. I'm not sure, but who knows? But that said, let me just take this comment. She says, how does this bill affect mixed status family? Are there people in mixed status family included? I think that's the question she's asking. And Laura, is this in reference to the amnesty bill that was discussed earlier? Please help us clarify, because I'm not too sure. All right, so back to the panel, and we want to talk about the issue going on. I mean, let's talk about the Mexican border. And so we know Joe Biden has halted the walls from being built. First, can you guys help us understand what's going on there? I know Diana, I know you have been dealing with policy. You may have a word or two on this matter, but FASIKA and ABUBAKR, please feel free to chime in on this.
Sure, I'm happy to start. So one of the things that I guess the more discouraging news to happen recently as it relates to the border is yesterday's Supreme Court decision that essentially requires the Trump administration to restart the MPP program. So basically the Remain in Mexico program. And basically what that program does is when folks are coming up to the border to request asylum, they're not allowed to come into the U.S. To make their case and wait and wait for their case to go through the system. They're returned back to Mexico and told to stay in Mexico and remain there essentially for the duration of their case. The issue with that is that that leaves people in these border town to become victims of the cartel, to become victims of crime, and the system is not working properly. So a lot of times people are not given the information that they even need to be able to show up to their asylum cases. Dates move, they show up, they're not able to get counsel. And so when they do show up, they're not able to adequately make their case. So it's really unfortunate that the Supreme Court came down in that way. And we're really hoping that the administration is still going to find a way to be able to process folks who come to the border seeking asylum, because it is a right that people have, and it's an obligation that the U.S. has to asylum seekers. Another issue at the border centers around what's called Title 42. And Title 42 essentially is a Trump-era policy where his administration used the corona pandemic as a way to further prevent asylum seekers from seeking asylum. So again, when people come to the border, Title 42 allows authorities at the border to essentially just turn them away and not even allow them to seek asylum. You know, this administration, there was some hope that they would do away with that policy, but more recently they've decided to extend it, again causing people, you know, to not have that right to claim asylum. So it's very unfortunate what's going on at the border, and it's really something that we hope that this administration will address.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing. ABUBAKR, you wanted to add your 2 cents to this?
I think I agree with everything my predecessor just stated. You know, the Supreme Court, their decision recently has been a big blow to you know, the whole remain in place in Mexico. You know, for the asylum seekers that are coming to the, you know, onto the border, that their case is not going to be heard in the United States, that they are supposed to remain in Mexico during the duration of time. I mean, it is a big it is a big blow. And then on top of that, you know, with the whole that the Trump era's policy with the whole COVID and trying to manipulate immigration policy to, you know, work favorable by stating that it was a health concern, is extremely distressing. And at the same time, seeing this administration continue on the predecessors, you know, when it came to that specific area, is you know, I don't know, I'm disheartened, but hopefully with this new bill that is going to be coming through, if all goes as planned, you know, that there are some optimism at the end of the road.
Thank you so much for sharing. I don't know, FASIKA, if you wanted to add something real quick to this before we move to the next question.
Absolutely. You know, I think oftentimes when we talk about the border, many people don't realize that issues at the border and the Remain in Mexico policy also affects our communities, right? For example, the Title 42 policy has disproportionately affected Haitian immigrants that have been, you know, they've been really targeted for the expedited removals under this policy.
Title 42.
Title 42. That's the public health policy that, you know, that prevents people from accessing legal, you know, accessing an opportunity to apply for asylum. Okay. At the border.
Okay.
Secondly, you know, I think the problems with the Remain in Mexico policy is, again, you know, Black immigrants come through the Mexican border also. You know, we're not talking just about Haitians and Cubans, but we know that there are Black immigrants from countries like Cameroon and Eritrea, Ethiopia, that are coming through the border. In fact, one estimate of the number of African immigrants heading to the US through Mexico in 2019 was 5,800. And this is compared to in 2007, it was less than 500. And to be stranded in those border towns is also, in these dangerous and unsafe circumstances is also a bigger risk for Black immigrants, because you're talking about they're there without access to family, legal, or social support. Mm-hmm. And you can imagine, because the numbers are smaller and there's a language issue, that becomes even more challenging for mm-hmm. Black immigrants and African immigrants. So the Remain in Mexico policy is definitely something that affects our communities negatively too.
Yeah, thank you. And I don't know what I'm sure Attorney Diana, you guys are doing something about it at the federal level, right?
So we don't work directly at the border.
No, I meant like in part of your organization, ACT, and the lobbying.
Oh, yeah. Yes, we do. We are calling for the administration to terminate Title 42. because of its disproportionate impact on African and Black immigrants at the border, as well as do away with MPP. We were, glad to see when the Biden administration had terminated that program. But, as we mentioned, unfortunately, the Supreme Court has said that that they need to restart it. But we are hopeful that, down the line, that program will be ended again. So we are involved in that advocacy. We've also started to hear from some attorneys down in Texas about calls that they're getting from Africans in detention in Texas, who have been transferred to detention facilities and who have been in those detention facilities for quite some time because they are not able to get credible fear interviews for to claim asylum because there's no interpretation. There's no access to the interpretation that they need.
Right.
So these are issues that we're also looking into to see how we can support the African community down there.
Thank you again for sharing. You are watching the Progressive Mind Show, where we build our community through these dialogues. Our number to ring in, if you want to do so, is 815-277-5047. We have a few more comments that have come through, and I would like our guests to help clarify or respond to, provide information for it. Another one from Adele is, is there a way that someone who has a business here can get papers? And ABUBAKR is nodding his head, so please go ahead. We cannot hear you.
This is more employment based. So there is the L1 possibility. If the person's here already in the United States, or is he in Africa, want to opening a business, it depends, right? I mean, there's the investment opportunity, which is the EB5, and then there is.
But if the person is here already, and maybe if
you're in the United States, right? So what status are they currently on? That's the ultimate question, right?
Okay.
And based off of that, right, they could potentially do an L1 if they partner up with someone or they want to invest in another business. But there's ways of doing it, right? And it gets kind of complex. I mean, you have to show that you have the funds. You have to show that it has to do with the Department of Labor. You have to show that there's not that many employees who are willing to take the job because of the tech skills, for the employment aspect of it. But in terms of business aspect of it, what kind of business it is as well, right? So all that kind of stuff, and where you're trying to open up that business too, right? There's a high need of it. So all that comes into play. Don't lose hope, right? There is potentially a way to do that. But an immigration lawyer will be of assistance. Please contact our office and we can refer you to one.
Thank you so much, ABUBAKR, for sharing. This is from and I'm trying to take my time so I don't do injustice to this beautiful name. So Shadid Madojemu. ABUBAKR, I just want to say thank you for the good and amazing job you do. That's someone appreciating you. Thank you so much for sharing. And from the same person, FASIKA, you are such an amazing soul, and thanks also for the assistance you render alongside the wonderful team at UAO. These testimonies are real because I know the job you do there and the people that come to your office, and it's not easy, and you have to wriggle through language barriers. And you guys are doing a great job. So I'm not surprised you're getting all these praises. UAO, you are a lifesaver, and a very big thank you to Mrs. Nancy, Manisan, Stella, Mirabel, and the team as a whole. Brother, thank you for sharing. And I think he missed one name, Sophia. Okay, so Sophia gets hers too. And then Diana, God bless. Thank you so much, my brother, for sharing. Again, I'm not sure if it's brother or sister, but thank you so fresh. So Shidat for sharing. Now, what advice would you give to people who are now trying to process, whether they are here undocumented? No, a lot of times this goes to people who already have their green card and they want to naturalize. They tend to go online. Oh, this thing is easy. They try to file themselves. So what advice would you give people who are in that category, who are now trying to file versus getting a lawyer to do it? Again, the temptation is that it's very easy. You don't have to get a lawyer. But why should someone get a lawyer rather than just going online and filing for naturalization themselves?
I mean, you really want to know the context of the question itself, right? You don't want to give any fraud or misleading information that can be construed that way, and that can have very heavy consequences. So that's the reason why you want to probably get an attorney to go ahead and overlook the documents, see, and help you prepare the form. Why do you hire a painter to paint your house? You want it perfect, right? So that's the reason why you want to get a professional to do the things that you want them to do. Although you can do it yourself, but that's why we have professionals.
Thank you for sharing. I don't know if FASIKA wanted to say something. I know I was looking at your demeanor. It looks like you're ready to chime in on this one. So if you want to, please go ahead quickly.
No, I don't think I could have said anything more than what ABUBAKR indicated.
Okay.
We do offer citizenship applications at UAO. We do them as workshops and also on a one-on-one basis. UAO, even though we have nominal fees, as you said earlier, it is to help with the overhead around printing the papers and the mailing of the application and things like that. But our fees are nominal. They're definitely affordable, anybody interested in citizenship can also call our office to schedule an appointment.
Okay, thank you so much. Some people say that the influx of immigrants coming to this country, refugees, the way America opens its economy to, everyone to come in through various ways, legal ways, is somewhat affecting or has the potential of affecting its economy decades to come or some years to come. Do you all agree to this assertion that is, being shared around in the immigrant community? I wouldn't say in the immigrant community, but you agree to this assertion because it is people talk about.
Are you asking whether immigrants
people
benefit the economy?
Yeah, people say that the way that America opens its economy for everyone to come in, and people are coming from all walks of life, refugees, in some years to come, some decades to come, the immigrants that are coming would, of course, take over the jobs that are here for the indigents of America, if there's a word like that, if there's a phrase like that. And at the end of the day, so immigrants are basically going to take over this country. And again, there is that type of assertion out there. To anyone who thinks like that, what would you, as immigration advocates, say to that?
Sorry, go ahead.
That's just clearly a bunch of nonsense.
Okay.
This country is an immigrant country. This country was made on behalf of the immigrants, and is the immigrant sweats that generate the economy. If you look at people who have developed the COVID vaccines, the essential workers, the people during the COVID crisis that were out there doing the work that no one wanted to do it, and they didn't want to jeopardize their health. Those are the immigrant population. Unfortunately, a lot of them are even undocumented. They were doing the essential work, right? I mean, who was working the slaughterhouses? Who was there? Who was working at the convenience stores, the gas stations? Who was there to make sure all that was done? It was that immigrant who you so despise. So I mean, this is just it's a bunch of noise and ignorant talk. I say, there's a focus here, and the target is to gain people's rightful status that they deserve. So, and that's what we're advocating.
But you are aware there's this type of talk around, though, right, in our society? Okay. Go ahead.
Just add, I mean, if you look at the TPS population alone, they're expected to add $164 billion to the economy. I think that is some of the positive aspects of immigration to this country.
Right.
Immigrants, in addition, tend to start businesses and tend to hire people. So it's not about taking jobs. I think that this country is big enough. I think that there are opportunities here, and the people who come here are here to take advantage of those opportunities. The people who are here, who are unfortunately without status, are people who have been here, a lot of them for many, many years, and who have built lives here. They have married people who may or may not be US citizens. They have had children here in this country. They have, started businesses. They have gone to school here. They've contributed to this country. They're Americans.
Okay.
And so it's only right that we fully recognize them as Americans by giving them that piece of paper.
Thank you so much for, again, Diana, for sharing. Fasika, we're hearing that the President, Joe Biden, has there have been COVID-19 restrictions placed on Americans who are trying to travel, or who intend to travel to Mexico due to the development of the Delta variant. Any confirmation on this matter?
No, no, I'm not aware of that.
Okay. Attorney Diana, no, no information on regarding this, because there is that type of, we're hearing this, that
people,
Americans, are restricted. There's been COVID-19 restrictions for Americans trying to go to Mexico due to the rising case of the Delta variant in the States. No?
I have not heard it.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't heard that.
Awesome. Good. If you are in there, you haven't heard it, I guess I don't have to entertain this type of information. It might not, be that serious. Now let's look at Daca. Can we look at what is currently going on with regards to Daca? And Fasika, thank you for sharing this information. So on the 20th, on the 20th of January this year, the president issued an executive order reinstating Daca. However, the federal judge, Andrew Hennen, on July 6th, 2021, ruled that the program was created in violation of the law and illegally implemented. And so we want to know what's the truth surrounding this illegality of Daca in the first place, because this conversation has been going on for a long time. So I would like to start with ABUBAKR. Daca has no illegal implementation surrounding it. Is that correct?
I don't know what the law. When it comes to this stuff anymore, I don't even know, because Congress has the authority to go ahead and come in with immigration laws. That's what comes down to play. President has the authority to make executive orders, and from what I don't see a violation of Daca being a violation of anything. I don't know why the Supreme Court ruled the way it is, but then again, I don't know why the Supreme Court rules on half the things the way they do. Mm-hmm. But this is all the reason why hopefully Congress will quickly, the bill's already passed, so hopefully they work together and just get this bill taken care of. Hopefully by this bill we won't even have to worry about this Daca situation.
Yeah. Mm. Oh, thank you. Now, we also know, we're hearing, we've seen on TV what's going on in Afghanistan, but the U.S. troop pulling out, of course, the chaos that has been caused there. American citizens are trying to come out. And of course, a lot of Afghans are trying to flee the country, first of all. And we also know that the American government is trying to help some of the Afghan citizens to trying to evacuate them. First, when they evacuate them, where are they taking them to? And can you help us explain the processes? Are they going to keep them somewhere and then process them and bring them to America, or are they going to keep them in some countries and provide some help, assistance, government, U.S. aid type of assistance to them? What's the situation?
So the situation is that there's a lot of things good that this administration has done. There's a lot of things they could have done better. I think better planning for this situation could have taken place. So these refugees or humanitarian special immigrant visa recipients, essentially they're going to be going to a third country, maybe like Doha, Qatar, or basically a place that basically has them temporarily, where they can seek out what countries is going to do their quotas. Because you have to understand, this war was a coalition effort, right? So everyone had their hands dipped into this 20-year-old war, so everyone has a role to play in accepting these refugees and whatnot. Now, to what level of acceptance are they going to do? I mean, the United States may accept, 15,000. Australia makes, those numbers are not decided yet, and no countries are has really put their stamp saying we're willing to accept XYZ amount. But that's ultimately is going to have to happen from the world standpoint.
Thank you again. Thank you for throwing light on that. We also want to look quickly into those countries that former President Trump had placed ban on. There were about 14 Islamic countries. What's the status on that ban?
That ban is in the garbage.
Okay. Okay. So of course the president lifted a ban on that, right? Okay. Now,
I have one.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Sana. I really wanted to add something to the discussion around Afghanistan. I think when we talk about refugee resettlement in this country, we know that a significant proportion of during the Trump administration, I will say the refugee resettlement programs around this country were really decimated, right? There were a lot of resettlement agencies that had to close their doors because there was such a reduction in the number of refugees that the U.S. was admitting. So I think part of doing what is right in Afghanistan will also include expanding that refugee, resettlement capacity in this country, but also supporting the agencies that do some of that work, like the UNHCR, that receives, refugees and then processes them for resettlement in different parts of the world. I think there's a lot of work to be done to rebuild that system to be able to adequately address the issue in Afghanistan and anywhere else, right? We know the numbers, the refugee admission numbers are still not back to what they were pre-Trump. So there's a lot of work to do to advocate to get that back.
Thank you, Fasika. Attorney Diana, so there are few states within your jurisdiction as ACT. Are there future plans to include other states? Because we're everywhere.
Yes, we are. Yeah, I mean, as time goes on, the plan is to expand into other areas with large African populations. So now we're in the DC area in New York, but we're also looking at Philadelphia. We're looking at Georgia. We're looking at Texas, particularly the Houston area. So hopefully you'll see us in a state near you.
You still haven't mentioned Chicago, and I don't know what.
Well, UAO is in Chicago doing very good work.
Okay.
So, we don't want to duplicate efforts.
Is that why you are not in Chicago, though?
Is that why we're not in Chicago? Yes, because they're doing amazing work already.
Okay, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure that you are not discriminating against us.
Not at all. Not at all.
No. Okay. No. Thank you. I know you won't do that. Yeah. Great. Thanks for an awesome job. What has been? So, do you find the pool of the clients that you guys get on a daily basis increasing? And I know that's one of the challenges. So I just want to get to the challenges of your work and what you think can, what help you may need from the community, or, the other international bodies to help your work that you do in the community? I'm sorry, Attorney Daphne. I mean, Attorney Diana, I'm still on you because I know UAO, UAO is still in Chicago. I know their work. They're getting the support that they're getting. They're expanding. But I also want to know about ACT, right? With regards to your expansion and the challenges that you have, I would like you to share some of them, some of the challenges that you're facing as an organization.
I would say, from my standpoint, a challenge that I think that I have in the work that I do is that there are just not enough African voices at the federal level. And so it would be great to have more of us really pushing for certain policies at the federal level. ACTA is still a very small organization, so there's only a little bit that we can do, but there's just so much need out there. And, there's a lot of work to go around. So it would be great to see more organizations working at the federal level. And it's really great that UAO does do some work at the federal level. And that we have the ability to tap into their network and their membership to mobilize our communities when we need to really push for policies that impact our communities.
Thank you for sharing, and that's a very great point you made. The lack of African leadership at the federal level, right? And who knows, we may have it in disguise. We may have it in the African American community, in that you have people like Congressman Daniel Davis, who is very passionate about issues of immigration, who is very passionate about Africa and the diaspora in general. And so maybe these are the people that we can be working with in addition to the Dick Durbans. Again, we may not have someone from the continent who happens to be in that position. Like in the state of Illinois, we have Dr. Ewa, who is Nigerian, but has risen to a very high level of politics in the state of Illinois. So he can advocate and talk on behalf of Africans. But like you said, at the federal level, if there seem to not be that type of representative, we can find it in the African American community. Again, I mentioned Congressman Daniel Davis. And there's another one who is, I think he's the... Bobby Rush. There you go. Bobby Rush, and the one who is now the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee or something. I'm forgetting the name. So what do you think about that, Diana?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that, wherever we can find allies to push our preferred policies forward. We are definitely willing to work with them. And I do want to give a shout out. We do have an African in Congress, in Representative Ilhan Omar, who is Somali out of Minnesota. So just want to shout her out that we are, we're getting up there.
Absolutely. But I just wanted to reiterate the fact that there's a need for us as Africans to work closely with the African American community because, if anything, we identify as Black, they identify as Black, they identify as African, we identify as African. Our struggles and goals are the same, basically, if you look at it. And so it makes it important for us to start looking at things from that lens. And that's just the point that I wanted to drive across. We have exhausted our time. It's 8 p.m., actually 2 minutes past 8 p.m. We have been talking about immigration under Joe Biden. We try to touch on every aspect of immigration. We may not have the time to divulge everything that you all wanted to hear, but please keep the conversation going. You have the resources now, you have them. You can reach out to them anytime for specific information, because I know there are some things that people may not be able to share live, but you need help with. And so here they are. We would like to end the show by having them give us their closing remarks. We will start with FASIKA and then end with Diana, Attorney Diana. FASIKA, please go ahead.
Sure, thank you. You are right. There's so much we could talk about. There was some really, I know we talked about the federal work, but for those that live in Illinois, there's a lot of work that is happening at the state and city and county levels that affect the daily lives of African immigrants. With the Illinois Way Forward, for example, we, we're able to pass legislations that stops the cooperation of local police agencies with ICE. And that also translates now to the closing of all ICE detention centers in the state of Illinois.
That's wonderful.
And so that affects our communities because, like our African-American brothers and sisters, African immigrants, Black immigrants are disproportionately targeted for detention and deportation. We have 3 remaining ICE detention centers in the state of Illinois, and we estimate that at least a quarter of those detained in those facilities are Black immigrants. And therefore, we are currently working on a push to make sure that these folks are released and not transferred out of state. We want them to be released into the community. We know that that is an effective way. The goal of detention is to make sure they go to immigration courts, right? Before ICE, right? ICE hasn't been around all the time. People were going, there was an almost more than 90% compliance. So we are pushing for release of these individuals and not detention. And we would love our community to get engaged with that so that we can push ICE. They're actually closing one detention facility in Southern Illinois without giving the opportunity for those detained to make the case for why they should be released. We don't think this is fair at all. If you transfer them, you're taking them further away from the families and the communities that can support them. And so I'm going to call for those listening to engage with us. Give us a call. I did share the phone number for UAO and to reach out to us. Follow us on Facebook. You can search for us, a United African Organization, and lend us your voice so we can, get louder about this and help our most vulnerable community members.
Thank you. Quickly, if you can share a few things that are within the county and city purview that would help the immigrant community, please feel free to share that. If time is not permitting, we'll have our audience reach out to you, but just maybe briefly, just touch on them.
Yeah, so I mean, over the last year, both the city and the county and the state have all passed legislation that has made the state of Illinois much more welcoming to immigrants. Obviously, the city of Chicago, similar to the state, passed a policy, they call them ordinances at the city level, that again makes it, prevents CPD, Chicago Police Department, from working with ICE detention. So oftentimes the way Black immigrants end up being deported when in the country is that they have these run-ins with law enforcement, right? And then when they get caught up with CPD will give them over to ICE. So the state of Illinois and the city of Chicago have all eliminated the possibility. It doesn't eliminate the fact that ICE is still able to come in, right, and detain people, but it prevents the biggest pathway, the biggest pipeline to deportation, particularly one that affects Black immigrants disproportionately.
Thank you so much for sharing. FASIKA, ABUBAKR, your closing remarks, please.
I mean, we can keep on talking about the subject immigration on and on and on, but the fact is, knowledge is only good if you have the means to relay that knowledge. And the Progressive Mind Show is that way to do it. Those who control the media, those who have access to the media, those who can basically influence the media has a leverage, right? So the fact is this is our media. This is our way of communicating to our population as a Progressive Mind Show. So if you haven't donated, please donate to the show. I mean, this is by all means one of the biggest blessings is to have this opportunity. I mean, 20 years ago, we didn't have this kind of opportunity for the African community, but now we do. We have a voice, and now we have a means to relay that information. So once again, please support the Progressive Mind Show, and it was an honor to sit on the show today.
My pleasure, man. Thank you. You have given the best closing remarks on this show ever. No, just that was light, but thank you, my brother. I really appreciate that. And you're right. This is why we do what we do. Attorney Diana.
Sure. I mean, I would just close by saying that I hope that everyone watching and participating will remain engaged in these conversations, particularly at the federal level. I mean, really, honestly, at all levels of government. You know, elected officials are elected to create conditions in this country that we want to see. And so it's very important that we engage with them and we let them know what exactly it is that we want. As it relates to immigration specifically, you know, I think that you all in Chicago are in a great place because your senator, Senator Durbin, is very powerful in the Senate, and particularly as it relates to his seat on the Judiciary Committee. He basically is gonna control what goes into that immigration bill, and so you have the power to influence that because you are his constituents, and so it's very important that he hears from you. So if you all are able to participate in the event that FASIKA mentioned earlier, you know, that's a great way to really create conditions in this country, create a country that we want, you know, by really making your voice heard and not just letting other people control the narrative, control policies and whatnot. So just would really end by just saying, get involved.
Thank you so much. Get involved is the word. And we can close out without taking this very important 2 questions that have come in. So I'll have you guys respond to them quickly. I know we ended, but this is like ABUBAKR said, this is our platform. So we have room for flexibility. It says, what number can I reach you on? Toyin, the number is already in the feed. Okay, if you scroll up, the number for the contact information for both ACT, Africa Together, Africa Community Together is on the screen. It's in the feed. You can please grab it from there. That for UAO is there as well. If you miss it, send me and reach out to us via social media. We would give it to you. And then FASIKA shared it again. Excellent. So I hope you can find it. He asked a question earlier: is the Biden administration still considering giving immigrant green cards as promised? I don't know what this one. I don't know if he really said this. FASIKA and ABUBAKR, can you help confirm if Biden said he was going to give out green cards?
Let us just wait until he signs it, okay? So let's just keep our fingers crossed. But
he did promise green cards, though.
No, it's a pathway to getting a green card for undocumented individuals, right? So I mean, there was a lot of things that are promised, right? But you know, as you guys know, you know, from Africa, right? I mean, leaders promise a lot of things, right? Whether they're going to follow through with it or not, that's something that we have to wait and see. So let us not jump the gun too quickly, and let us go ahead and wait and see what happens.
But then, Attorney Diana, you are, you know, in constant contact with, you know, people who make laws in this regard. Are you hearing anything about it? Is there any updates that you can share quickly?
Yeah, so you know, Biden did say that he would work to give a pathway to citizenship to the 11 million. So he is in support of the current process going through Congress right now, the budget reconciliation process. And so, you know, in a few weeks, we'll see what that bill looks like. And, you know, hopefully it will make it to the finish line and make it to President Biden's desk. And, you know, hopefully in a couple of months, we can all come back together and celebrate.
You know what?
It's not there yet. So Call Senator Durbin.
I think that should be the okay. So maybe Fasika, let's do this. Let's probably have Senator Dick Durbin, or hopefully next week we're trying to get Congressman Daniel Davis. We can ask him some of these questions. But let's work on getting you guys back, okay? And not just you, but hopefully with you and one of the senators, or one of the guys, one of the congressmen, right? That way we can literally get first information. Guys, is a bill out there? When are you passing it? Okay, we are passing it next week. If you're not passing it next week, we want it now, right? That way we can have, all I'm saying is that it would be good to have this conversation again. And hopefully we can do it soon. But great contribution, great information, guys.
Yeah. Quickly, Senna, I was going to say, about calling Dick Durbin. Thank you, Diana. You just reminded me. We are actually doing phone calls. We're placing phone calls to his office over the next coming week. Anybody in the audience who wants to join, we provide you with a script of what to say, because we want, we want him to hear from those that are directly impacted, so that he understands that what he is working on right now is meaningful to a lot of us. So if you're interested in placing those calls, please get in touch with me.
The show got more interested right after we happened to have end it. It's getting it is immigration, and so I hope that everyone can understand why we're going past the time. Thank you for hanging on. A few folks have hung on up until now. We really appreciate it. Faith Shimutal Cheponi is watching us. Thank you. Godfred Anise, Omori Omo Worere Johnny, Togbe Hododio, Priscilla ABD, Thomas, Linda Obeng Abuaje, Tomisha Bennett, Shirley Tete, Mapulita MP. Oh yeah, the lady from Botswana, but she lives in Chicago. How you doing? Mirabelle, Liberian, Francisca Donko, Rebecca Made, you've all stayed on, and those who I couldn't get to mention, please pardon me. We thank you all for being part of the show. Someone says, I am very interested, so maybe Toyin will be getting in touch with you, Fasika, to get, okay, we have a beautiful daughter on the screen. We have to say, God bless you all from Ogunya. Thank you all, our audience, for chiming in and for being great and for being part of the conversation. ABUBAKR, that's your sweetheart. What's her name?
Mariam,
you want to say hi to everyone? Say hi. Hi. How are you, Mariam? What's your name? What's your last name? No, we already know last name.
MEAH.
Okay. Maria, what's your favorite food?
Huh?
What's your favorite food?
My favorite food.
Okay.
She doesn't have a favorite food.
She doesn't have that. She all we know is that she's daddy's favorite, and that is good enough. Well, we want to thank you all for again helping the show, making the show a success, and to our great guest, Attorney Daphne CAMILIEN, or at CAMILIEN Law. She was here earlier. I want to thank her so much. FASIKA ALEM, Programs Director at UAO, United Africa Organization. ABUBAKR, the staff attorney at UAO. And they have Nancy, they have Stella. It's a great team and great, awesome people there. They're not just professionals, but they're human too. They're very personable, kind-hearted people who will help your immigration issues. If they can't, they'll provide you the resources to help you to get you through. So please do want to contact them if you need help with any type of immigration at all, any type of issue regarding immigration. And Diana, Attorney Diana KONATE at ACT, we Africa community together. We really want to thank your presence and for you sharing and for being part of the show. You've just made our community, you all have just made our community a notch better. And we really want to appreciate you. Again, to our audience, wonderful, great audience, thank you for being part of this. And we shall be coming your way this coming Sunday from 4 to 6 p.m. We'll be talking about the culture of silence in Africa, particularly sub-Saharan Africa, and how it's affecting the growth of our development. So please make a date with us. The culture of silence in Africa. Right, guest, we want to say thank you. Have a wonderful evening. We shall be talking to you sometime very soon. Have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye. All right.